Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is George once more from the Guides program. Uh, this morning, I'll be continuing with my series of YouTube videos, taking us through quick labs that are available with the course content. Have in mind, the aim of these quick labs sessions on YouTube is not to take away your experience from doing it yourself. It's just to help explain some parts that might be new to you for those who are new to Linux, new to using quick labs, and new to cloud in general. Okay, so first of all, first thing first, make sure you're logged into your Pluralsight account. That account has to be associated with the Guides program. Please, if you have a personal Pluralsight account, that won't work. Okay, so we're advised to do this in our private window or incognito window. Private window. And then once I'm going to sign in, let me shut down my notifications. Okay, so I'm going to sign in using my email that is associated with the Guides program that I used to register on Pluralsight. Okay, so we'll click in. So today we'll be looking at SQL, Cloud SQL, manage SQL service on Google Cloud. Okay. This I had a previous error on this lab, and if I had paid any credits for trying out this lab, the credits would have been refunded. Okay, so but this is a free lab. So first of all, look at the overview. First one, we'll create an SQL Cloud SQL database instance. Then we configure a proxy on a virtual machine, connect an application to the Cloud SQL instance, connect to Cloud SQL via internal IP, review our labs, and of course end the labs. So this is basically what we are trying to achieve. Okay. All right, so this is the proxy connection to SQL, and this is connection using private IP. All right, so objectives of this lab is to create a Cloud SQL instance, configure a virtual machine to run a proxy. A virtual machine there would be like you running it from your laptop or desktop. Create a connection between an application and Cloud SQL. Connect an application to Cloud SQL using the private IP address. Okay, so let's quickly start this lab. Let's hope I'm still within my quota. I am. Okay, so I'll open this lab. Normally it will populate this with the email that has been supplied by the lab. Use that email and not your private email, please. Okay, so we accept terms and some other things. After that, we move on to start the lab. Okay, so terms of service, no email updates. Email doesn't belong to us, so we don't need to do that part. So the first thing is to create an instance. The name will Wordpress DB, password, type a password of anything. In this case, I'll just do admin. The region US Central 1, zone, any zone you like, and database version is 5.7. I usually use this to quickly find what I'm looking for. Okay, I click in here and I just type Cloud SQL and it will do a search and I see it there. Okay, so for those of us that have been having errors on resource provisioning in zones, it's best you report this to the support using this icon here, because if you were to carry out that create that instance or that resource in another zone, you might not have this scoring. The scoring mechanism will not be able to might not pick up that resource in that zone because it's configured to check for resource in particular zones for which you have been asked to use. Okay, so we'll be choosing MySQL. Let me take the name from here, copy that, and type in a password. Okay, MySQL is this. Version is 5.7. So make sure you pick 5.7, put the name there, get rid of the space before that name, type in any password. So I'm doing a simple admin. Let me repeat that to be sure. Okay, so the version is 5.7, so let's pick that one. Now they said we should pick, let's look at the region, US Central 1, any zone. So the region is specified, but the zone is anywhere. Single zone in case of outage. Okay, high availability, multiple zones, specify zones. Let's see what zones. Primary zone, secondary zone. Okay, any. It said any. Okay, so let's leave this. It says any there, so we'll leave that any. Okay, then what next? We've picked the version, then we create the instance. With this instance, you can create a lot of databases from this instance. Okay, so we've done that. Expand, show configuration. Okay, so we skipped this part. That's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem because when you create a MySQL database and you delete it, that name remains. Okay, let's wait for it to be provisioned formally, then we'll do an edit because they specify the machine type. Shared core machines are good for prototyping, are not covered by cloud SLAs. Each vCPU is subject to a 250 megabytes per second network throughput cap for peak performance. Okay, those are things you need to look at for performance sensitive workloads such as online transaction processing or LTP. A general guideline is to ensure that your instance has enough memory to contain the entire working set and accommodate the number of active connections. For this lab, we'll be using 1 vCPU, 3.75 gigabytes storage. Of course, they talked about the different advantages and disadvantages of SSD and HDD storage. Okay, we check what, and then at the end of the day, we set it to 10 gigs. So what are we supposed to pick here? So HDD may be preferred for storing storage that's infrequently accessed. Okay, so let me refresh this. Okay. Okay, still coming up. Okay, still coming up. So for now, we can edit. Okay, we will attend to that later. So let's read through. So storage is 10 gig. Setting your storage capacity too low without enabling an automatic storage increase can cause your instance to lose its SLA. Expand the connection section, select private IP. In the network dropdown, select default, click the setup connection button that appears. In the panel to the right, click enable API, click use an automatically allocated IBI range, click continue, and then click create connection. Now create the instance. So it's a lot we didn't do, so let's just be patient. When that comes up, we'll do an edit. Now we configure a proxy on a virtual machine. We'll create a virtual machine. When your application does not reside in the same VPC connected network, and region as your Cloud SQL. Use a proxy to secure its external connection. In order to configure the proxy, you need the Cloud SQL instant connection name. Okay, so the lab comes with 2 virtual machines pre-configured with WordPress and its dependencies. You can view the startup script and service account access by clicking on a virtual machine name. Notice that we use the principle of least privilege and only allow SQL access for that VM. There's also a network tag and a firewall pre-configured to allow port 80 from any host. Okay, so these 2 virtual machines are already there. Okay, so we will look at those. Okay, so let's look at that. We'll come back. Instance. Okay, let's look at those VMs that are configured for us. Okay, so that's the 2 of them. Okay, let's hide this and close this. All right, so we have these 2. All right, SSH next to click SSH next to WordPress US West 1 proxy, and then download this. Let me zoom in a bit. Download on, okay, download this particular tool and make it executable, and when you do that, you can now run that to connect. So we need the SQL connection name. So let's check our SQL. Let's not get it from there, let's get it from here. So go down to database, view all products. Okay, click that again and go down. Let's go down, more products. Okay, so go down to database and we have SQL. So click on that one. All right, so it's running. Let me see, actions, edit. Okay, okay, so what and what can we change? Machine type. So we are told to pick, let's go back here, let's go back to the top, check the machine type. Okay, so select standard from the drop down menu, high memory, so pick standard, and then 1 VPCU. Good. Storage, we have a default of 100, but we're using 10. We're using 10 SSD in this case. It wasn't specified, I believe, whether we should use SSD or HDD. Okay, then expand connection, set the private IP, said it must be at least 100 or more. Oh, that's troubling. The lab says let's kill this. It refuses. That's something to SSD. It appears I can't change it after, as whether it's SSD and the rest. I've already picked SSD, so it's having issues. Okay, so let's hope we don't get penalized for that. So connection, enable private connection, select private IP, expand the connection sections, select defaults, click setup connection. Okay, set default. Okay, setup connection. Okay, enable API. Okay, and then use an automatically allocated IB range. Click continue and then click create connection. Okay, so we do this, enable the API, then we allow use an automatically allocated IP, continue, and then create connection. Okay, so for the storage, most likely maybe if I picked HHD, it would have allowed me to keep the size at 10 gig. Let's hope we don't get into trouble while setting up reconfiguring our MySQL instance. Okay, so let's wait for that one to come. Okay, once that is done, we'll click check progress. If we have an error here, then we will have to do the lab some other time, because the MySQL instance names are globally unique, and when you delete them, they stay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about a week or so thereabout before that name is completely released for reuse. So you will not be able to reuse that name immediately. So you need to actually take your time and plan properly before creating an instance of MySQL. Okay, so we're creating our private connection. Okay, so that's done. All right, then what else? Then create instance. The instance has already been created. We simply just save. Okay, save and restart. Okay. Okay, so I'll stop the video here and return once this instance is fully restarted. So that is that. Then we check our progress. That's the next thing we should do. I hope we're in order. All right, so we are forgiven for the 100 gigabytes storage size. Okay, configure a proxy on a virtual machine. So we go to this virtual machine and then we run this command. Copy this command. What this command does is use the wget tool to pull in this particular file here. Okay, and then change the name to this, and then this piece, if this first part, that's what this does. This says if the left hand side is successful, run this other part to make the downloaded file executable. So let me copy this, come here, let's go to our virtual machines instance, this one. Okay, let me close or collapse that. Okay, so that's the virtual machine. We want to use SSH into it by clicking on that button to the right. My system is a bit slow in responding, please do forgive me. Okay, all right, so let me change the shape of this guy. All right, okay, all right, so connection to our server has been established, keys will be exchanged, our identity will be confirmed, and then we are able to, let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so let's paste that command and let's run that. Okay, so let's do a list to see, and it's there. Okay, so what's the next thing we're supposed to do? In order to start the proxy, you need the connection name of the SQL instance. Keep your SSH window open and return to the console. Navigate to this, click on WordPress instance, wait for a green check mark next to its name, which indicates that it is operational. Note the instant connection name. It will be used later and referred to as this. Okay, so let me open my gedit editor. Let me open my gedit editor. And while that is coming up, let me click this. Okay, and then look for the instance connection name. Okay, so let's go down. Oh, sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing. I should actually be looking at SQL, and I was looking at my instance, VM instances. Okay, so SQL. Okay, that one and that one. Alright, so click on this. Instance connection name. Public IP, private IP, associated connection name, instance connection name, that's it. Click on that to copy and go to my gedit and paste that in there, and then minimize that one. Alright, so in addition, for the application to work, you need to create a table. Click databases, click create database, type WordPress, which is the name of the application expects, and then click create. Okay, so we go to our database, databases, click this, create database. Okay, so the name of the database is WordPress. Okay, let's go back here, click create. Okay, so that's fine for that instance. Return to SSH window and save the connection name in a environmental variable, replacing this with the unique name. So we have this SQL connection. So let me copy this. The name is rather long, so let me do this. Copy this, then go back to my SQL SSH connection. Okay, so we're going to do export SQL. Okay, let's see what it says. Connection. Okay, connection. Put that. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so if you do echo, you should see that value stored. Okay, do echo, and there it is. All right, so the connection name should be printed out. It was printed out. Now to activate the proxy connection to your SQL database and send the process to the background, run the following command. That's what the ampersand does at the end. It will run this process, this command, and then send it to the background so that you can get back your terminal and do whatever you wish to be doing. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, hold on. Okay, expected output is this. Ready for new connections. Press enter. Okay, enter. Okay, so it let goes of the terminal. If you do a top, You should see it somewhere running. Don't know what it will call, but current user is what was the command we ran? I think it's SQL. Do a search. Let me see. Okay. Okay, shift this SQL. I doubt if that will bring out anything. Okay, so it did. So I did a search on using the top two, and that's it. It's running in the background. It's disappeared. It will reappear again. Okay, so you saw that. So hit Q to stop that top two. Okay, so let's check our progress. If we did well, we did. Okay, so task 3, connect an application to your SQL instance. Now configure the WordPress application to find the external IP address of a virtual machine, query its metadata. Okay, so we're going to run this 169.254, 169.254, and then query to get the IP address. Okay, to find the external IP address. Okay, so we got in that one. Let me pick that and save it here too, in case we will need it later. Okay, so that's that. Okay, let's see what else. Go to the WordPress external IP address in your browser and configure the WordPress application. So let's open here. Just open a new tab. Okay, let me close this one. Okay, appears we're having some problems with my system. Let's just give it a few minutes to clear its head. Okay, so we're back. I put the external IP here, and then the machine is still clearing its head. Let's give it a few more seconds. Okay, close this one. We're back. So put this here and then hit enter. Okay, so click on let's go as instructed. Okay, so the database name is this DB, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, and let's follow the instructions so that we don't make a mistake. Because if you do make a mistake here, then you will just need to start the session once more, because not necessarily. If you get the database name correct, and the username wrong, you can always change that one. Okay, depending anyway. Okay, so the username is root and that password we created. Okay, so username is root, password is in my case I used admin. Database host is of course local IP address 127.0.0.1. Then table prefix is as it is. You are using this locals as the database IP because the proxy you initiated listens on this address and redirects that traffic to your SQL server. Okay, so basically this is what happens. It listens on this and then sends any traffic in towards this. Okay, click submit. Okay, all right, hopefully we are WordPress. Try again. Did I miss the database name? Oh, okay, let's go up. Default it was WordPress they put in there, but let's check what was the name of the database I created. Okay, no, let's go back down. Done that, then create a database. Okay, WordPress. Oh, that's true, that was the name of the instance and not the name of. Okay, run installation. All right, so we already got our full marks, but we proceed to get to the end of the lab. Okay, so run installation to initiate WordPress and its database in populate your demo site's information, random information, and click install WordPress. Okay, so title, I'll say guards. Okay, username, just say admin. Let me just pick that password and store it here. Okay, put that. Your email, I wouldn't put any email. Okay, the application will be destroyed, so I can use this projects at gmail.com. All right, then install. Okay, then we connect to Cloud SQL via internal IP. If you can host your application in the same region, VPC connected network as your Cloud SQL, you can leverage a more secure and performant configuration using private IP. By using private IP, you will increase performance by reducing latency and minimize the attack surface of your Cloud SQL instance because you can communicate with it exclusively over internal IP addresses. Okay, so let's get the private IP for our server. Right, login. Okay, so we do admin and then paste that password we copied earlier. Okay, so while that is coming up, let's go get the private IP of our okay, so let's get the private IP of the Cloud SQL server. Okay, so come back here. Okay, private IP is this, so note, oh sorry, note it and then save it. Okay, then come back here, now says navigate, click compute engine, private, and click enter. Copy the external IP address of this, paste in the browser, click let's go. Okay, so we'll come here. Okay, so instance, okay, this one, that's the external IP. And then paste that in the browser and hit enter. Okay, let's go. WordPress again, root min, I would think this would be the same. Okay, so come here, root, type the password configured when the cloud instance was created, database host, SQL private IP. All right, so let's go back. Okay, I think I have that in my, drop that here. Is that private IP? No, it's not. See the private IP here. Copy that one, come back here, hit that. Okay, so click submit. Okay, run installation, login. Did I even? Not sure. I'm in trouble. Okay, not even sure I remember the password for this. Okay, let's look at the instances. Let's try and understand what's going on. Okay, so one is the same region, US Central A, and because of that it's possible to use the private IP to communicate. Where you're in a different region, then you use the proxy to do that. I think that's basically what we're being taught here. Okay, the same region, use the private IP to connect. In different regions, you use the proxy to do your connection. Okay. All right, so my system once again needs to clear its head. So just give it a few seconds, but we're done with the lab as we have successfully connected using a proxy from a virtual machine. This virtual machine can, of course, be your laptop or your desktop, depending on how you're accessing the SQL instance. Okay. Okay, so let me stop that. Come down here. Let's go back here. All right, so that's what we just achieved. Review our tasks, and as simple as that. So at the end of the day, you can close these windows, close this one, close this one. I forgot I didn't take note of the Control-C to stop that and then click close. I didn't take note of the second installation's username and all that, so but it didn't matter because we weren't going to log in. Okay, so end the lab, submit, leave your review if you want to. I appeal that you do so. Leave your review so that Quick Labs knows if they're doing well or not. Then you close the window, and that is the end for this. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments, leave your likes, Have a nice day.